So I recently got a copy of the official Horizon Forbidden West strategy guide published by Future Press, and there are some interesting combat mechanics explained in there that I either didn't know about or previously couldn't figure out the inner workings of. So in this video, we're going to cover 8 different combat mechanics the game never explains to you. These tips either come from the guide or were discovered by me or other players in the Horizon community. And they're not just tricks, they're all actually quite useful, so my goal here is to explain each mechanic and give you some helpful tips to work into your gameplay. Some of these are going to take a bit of explaining, so let's get started. First up, we have a mechanic the official guide calls Quick Draw. Quick Draw gives you a slow motion effect similar to concentration if you press L2 to aim while sliding, jumping, or falling. If you're familiar with the Hunter Reflexes skill from Zero Dawn, then you can basically think of Quick Draw as the same thing. We just don't need to unlock a skill to use it now. However, in addition to slowing down time and decreasing the effect of gravity a bit, Quick Draw also increases weapon draw speed and gives you a bit of additional aim assist, making it easier to target weak points and components. And yes, I've tested it, and the aim assist boost is even present on Ultra Hard where aim assist is locked off, so this is actually the only way to get any aim assist on Ultra Hard. That being said, the aim assist boost from Quick Draw is very subtle, so you're not going to notice it much. Nonetheless, this is still a pretty useful mechanic to know about, and the game won't explicitly teach you about Quick Draw at any point. Now, I have a suspicion that Quick Draw is currently bugged. The guide says it's supposed to work while sliding, jumping, or falling, but from my own testing, as of patch 1.16, it only seems to work while sliding or falling from a height much higher than a jump. For example, immediately after launching yourself from a grapple point. While jumping normally, it is possible to get a very brief period of slow motion, but it seems to be shorter than what you get while sliding, and weapon draw speed doesn't appear to increase at all. I'd be curious to know if you guys are able to get it to work while jumping, so leave me a comment if you do, but I'm thinking it currently doesn't work as intended. Hopefully Guerrilla will fix that at some point, and we'll basically have the Hunter Reflexes skill back, which was probably my most heavily used skill in Zero Dawn. For now, to utilize Quick Draw, you need to first start a slide, which you can do by hitting crouch while sprinting, and then immediately press L2 to aim and then R2 to draw your weapon like normal. If you get the sequence right, you'll get a noticeable slow-mo effect and you'll see your weapon draws much faster than normal. This can be particularly useful with certain weapons like the Rope Caster, which has a relatively slow draw speed but needs to be drawn or overdrawn for the ropes to penetrate armor plates. You can tie down machines faster by sliding to use Quick Draw. Quick Draw is also useful when firing triple-notched arrows from a Hunter Bow, either to deal damage or apply elemental buildup. Speaking of sliding, let's talk about the slide dodge. This one isn't from the guidebook, it's just something myself and other players have discovered. If you've watched my master machine hunting guides, then you know I often recommend using a slide dodge combination to avoid enemy attacks as opposed to a simple normal dodge. Using a slide to avoid attacks is actually more effective because sliding is fast and gives you a good amount of invincibility frames. This has been confirmed by the official guide, which says sliding is the fastest form of unmounted movement at 10 meters per second. For comparison, sprinting is 6.12 meters per second. Now, they don't give us speed for dodges, but they do tell us that the first 11 frames of a dodge give us invincibility. For slides, it's the first 14 frames, so there's a slight advantage there. In practice, what this all means is the most effective way to avoid many attacks is to slide out of the way and then throw a dodge in at the end. This will maximize your speed and the number of invincibility frames you get. Just remember to either jump or hit square again at the end of the slide dodge so you don't end up crouched. I'd recommend practicing the slide dodge outside of combat a bit first to build up your confidence. When practicing, it can be helpful to slide on differently sloped terrain, since the slide length is affected by the incline. While practicing this, you could also practice the Quick Draw mechanic so you're ready for combat. By the way guys, if you like these tips and tricks style videos, let me know by leaving a like down below. My channel is actually much smaller than a lot of people realize, so leaving a like lets me know what you guys like to see and also helps out the channel. Up next, let's talk about Knockdown. Knockdown is one of those mechanics we've all seen, but don't really understand how we triggered it or if there's rules for making it happen consistently. Knockdowns are what's happening when a machine gets a triple star status effect icon and falls over onto its side briefly, and thanks to the strategy guide, we now know there are rules for making this happen. The first thing to know about Knockdown is that there's a hidden knockdown damage stat for each ammo type. This is a bit like tear damage in that we don't actually see the tear damage numbers when hitting a machine, but at least with tear damage we can see a stat for it when looking at an ammo type in our inventory. With knockdown power, it's completely hidden. Not only are knockdown stats hidden for our weapons and ammo, but they're also hidden on the machine side. Each machine has a certain threshold for how much knockdown damage needs to be applied before a knockdown is triggered, and specific zones on their body that must be targeted to trigger a knockdown. I know that sounds like a lot, but I can boil this down to a few simple rules for you guys. First, to trigger knockdowns on midweight and heavyweight machines, you have to hit them in the legs. The exceptions are Stormbirds and Sunwings, which you can also hit in their bodies or tails, and Slitherfangs, which can be hit anywhere in the midsection of their body. For lightweight machines, you can generally hit them anywhere on their body except the head and neck. A knockdown on a small machine will last 8 seconds, while for midweight and heavyweight machines we get 10 and 12 seconds respectively. The best weapon for dealing knockdown damage is a spike thrower for a few reasons. First, spikes have some of the highest knockdown damage of any ammo type, with drill spikes being the best at 120 for their initial impact and then an additional 15 every second after that while they're drilling into the machine. They'll drill for a total of 15 seconds, so a single drill spike can deal a total of 345 knockdown damage. To give you a reference point, Slaughter Spines and Fireclaws have the highest knockdown threshold at 645, so it only takes 2 drill spikes to knock them down. The next highest knockdown damage ammo are knockdown precision arrows on a sharpshot bow, with the regular version coming in at 120 knockdown damage. The advanced version deals 150, so that is more than a drill spike's initial impact, but the arrows don't do any damage over time, so overall drill spikes are still better. Spike throwers are also the only weapons to have a built-in overdraw knockdown power bonus, with this stat coming in at 50%, so an overdrawn spike will deal even more knockdown damage. Just remember, it doesn't matter how much knockdown power the spikes have if you don't land them on the legs, so make sure that's where you're aiming for midweight and heavyweight machines. In practice, you can use knockdowns to create an opening for yourself to follow up with another attack. For example, you could knock down an enemy from stealth and then use a powerful attack like the Power Shots Valor Surge while it's easy to target a weak spot. Or you could take advantage of the knockdown to easily tie a machine down, like I showed in my Slaughter Spine hunting guide. If you want to use drill spike knockdowns, then you'll need either the Vindicator or Spinethorn Spike Thrower. And even though it's the lower rarity of the two, I actually recommend you use the Spinethorn because it has a built-in 25% knockdown power perk when fully upgraded. Combine this with a couple of 15% knockdown power coils and you'll have an extra 55% knockdown power compared to the maximum of 45% you can coil the Vindicator with. Moving on, let's quickly cover a neat trick I picked up from the strategy guide. As I'm sure you guys know, it can be really slow to load certain arrows, especially the advanced ones. Not only is it slow to reload to be ready for another shot, but keeping L2 held down while reloading slows Aloy down while she's in aiming mode, making you more susceptible to attacks. But you don't actually have to hold L2 the whole time Aloy's loading an arrow. You can quickly press L2 and R1 to start the reload animation, but then you can let go of L2 and Aloy will keep loading the arrow while allowing you to move around normally. It takes a bit of practice to retrain yourself to notch arrows this way, but it really helps maintain mobility in combat, so I highly recommend you try out this fast notching technique. On the theme of notching arrows, let's talk about the triple and double notch skills. Contrary to popular belief, these skills will not simply multiply your shot's damage by the number of arrows you have notched. For example, this Deathseeker coiled to have exactly 100 base impact damage will not deal 300 damage when I fire off a triple notch shot. Instead, the triple and double notch skills have a damage reduction applied. For triple notch, firing 2 arrows will result in a 20% overall reduction to any impact, tear, or elemental buildup damage you deal. With 3 arrows, the reduction is 30%, so our Deathseeker with 100 base impact damage will only deal 210 damage instead of 300. For double notch on a sharpshot bow, the damage reduction is 30%. So for example, I have this Delta sharpshot bow coiled for 150 base damage, and you can see that I only get 210 when using double notch. These reductions apply to tear and elemental buildup as well. Now, I'm not saying you should never use triple or double notch. I think they're great skills, and I would recommend both of them, especially triple notch, but it's important to keep this damage reduction in mind while you're playing and potentially adjust your playstyle to account for it. For example, starting off a fight with triple notch frost arrows to freeze a machine is a great opening strategy, but now that you know triple notch isn't quite as powerful as you thought, you might not worry about trying to triple notch every shot in the middle of a fight. The extra reload time might not be worth it, especially with advanced arrows. Of course, you can mitigate this a bit by using the fast notching trick we discussed earlier. Okay, now let's look at how overdraw and various damage enhancing coils affect different damage types. Overdraw is a damage boosting mechanic that most weapons have after upgrading them a bit. An overdrawn shot is indicated by the extra whiskers on the reticle and the ammo flashing blue. The overdraw damage boost ranges from 15 to 25% depending on the weapon, and it applies to all 4 of the primary damage types: impact, tear, explosive, and elemental buildup. So if you overdraw your shot, you can deal more damage, but you can also tear off components more easily and build up elemental states faster. The same is true for most of the damage boosting coils, such as agility, concentration, long range, close range, high ground, and overdraw. All these coils will increase each of the damage types, so they're very versatile and more useful than you might have realized. Let's move on to a hidden mechanic of my favorite weapon, Shredder Gauntlets. Now, I have a whole masterclass video just on Shredder Gauntlets, so if you want to dive deep into their mechanics, I'll link that video down in the description, but I just want to quickly highlight perhaps the most important mechanic because it really is hidden. Despite only showing impact and elemental buildup states, acid and shock shredders actually deal a lot of tear damage when hitting a machine. They also deal this tear damage over a large area around the impact site, and the strength of this tear damage is increased after every successful catch, with the explosion that happens on the 4th throw dealing a massive amount. Tearing off components deals large chunks of damage to machines and disables attacks, so this hidden tear mechanic is one of the reasons shredders can be so powerful once you master them. Like I said before, I'll leave my Shredder Gauntlet Masterclass video linked down below if you want to learn more about them. But for now, the key takeaway is that elemental shredders can be very strong because they have a hidden tear damage mechanic. Finally, we have a neat trick I figured out to apply elemental states to machines while keeping them tied down. As many of you already know, a machine tied down with a rope caster will stay that way for a full 90 seconds, but if you start dealing damage, the tie down state quickly degrades and the machine will get free. Elemental ammo doesn't deal much impact damage, but it can easily still be enough to remove the tie down state. My trick is based on the fact that armor plates reduce impact damage by 80% on normal machines and 95% on Apex variants, but they don't block elemental buildup. I discovered this through experimentation, but it's confirmed in the official guide, so it's not a bug. If you have a machine tied down, you can freeze it or apply any other elemental status by simply hitting an armor plate, and you'll be able to build up the effect without degrading the tie down state much. I showed this trick in my Slaughter Spine and Fireclaw hunting guides, and it can be really nice for getting yourself set up to deal a massive amount of damage without the risk of the machine retaliating. Alright guys, those are 8 hidden combat mechanics I wanted to share with all of you. For me, part of the fun in Horizon is figuring out these hidden combat mechanics to optimize my gameplay, but I know a lot of people don't like to experiment as much as I do, so I hope I've helped some of you out by showing you these. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, leaving a like would be much appreciated and really helps me out. I'm sure I haven't uncovered every secret mechanic in the game, so if you've found something we didn't cover, definitely leave me a comment down below. Maybe if we can come up with enough, I'll compile them all in another video like this. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.